I wanted to do one final thing before I go to bed, and I'll make this quick. Zach Rinaldo gets 6 games today. The NHL announced a 6 game suspension. I agree with the suspension. My problem is there are other dangerous incidents I see in a lot of games that require a heavier sentence than people get. Ronaldo gets the book thrown at him because he's Zach Ronaldo. I was kind of surprised it was only 6. I thought, you know what, the easy thing for him to do would be give him 10 or more, and then as a PR move, say, see, we're making the game safer. The idea that guys like Zach Ronaldo are still in the league is somewhat concerning to me in this. I always hear so and so's in the lineup as a deterrent. Okay? And I've talked about this before, but there are a lot of new subscribers, so I want to make this clear. I have never bought the deterrent argument. People mention Gretzky, totally different game. The 80s hockey, there was so much less hitting, especially concerning your star players, your skilled guys. You didn't see them get hit, especially by defensemen. They'd skate around defensemen. Defensemen didn't play anywhere nearly as bad as, well, bad, that's the wrong way to put it. They weren't nearly as aggressive. And that aggression came into the league with guys like Scott Stevens, Darian Hatcher, Kevin Hatcher, who made you pay the price. And eventually it led to the clutching and the grabbing that the NHL would have to legislate out of the game as much as they could. Now they're trying to do the same thing with slashing. But defensemen are still a lot more aggressive. The Zach Ronaldo incident was a star player gets hit, and it's by Zach Ronaldo. And then Gerard goes in, and a little bump happens, and then Ronaldo one punches him. This is where the whole argument that an enforcer's in there as a deterrent kind of falls by the wayside, because he didn't deter anybody from anything, and now he's suspended 6 games. It's Tom Sestito all over again. Nothing was deterred anywhere. Sestito was brought in last year as a hired gun for a game, and it blew up in the faces of those who brought him in. The deterrent argument is an old argument, and it's one that I do not believe in. And I really think that guys like Zach Ronaldo and Jordan Tutu, who's currently in the minors, these guys will be, if not extinct, they'll be even more rare than they are now. The game has changed, and I liked it in the 80s. I enjoyed it in the 80s. You'd see a good fight between like a John Kordick and a Chris Nyland, or a Bobby Probert and a Ty Domi. Those were fun. But watching a guy like a Zach Ronaldo go out there and hit somebody who's not a tough guy against a team that may not have a tough guy in the lineup, it to me it rings hollow when I hear, well, you need these guys in the game as policemen. I don't mind Reeves in Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say that straight up, because he can do more than just fight. And I don't mind Wilson in Washington, because he can do more than just fight. I'm talking about the guys who are in the league primarily as fighters, and they don't do much else in the game. Ronaldo's suspension is easy, because his role is almost done at an NHL level. I'm surprised he's still there. A Bruins fan captured it when he said, "I can't believe Boston gave up a third rounder for Zach Ronaldo," and I agree. At the time that trade happened, I was like, are you serious? We gave up anything for Zach Ronaldo? And it's this sort of stuff. It's the fact that there are certain players who are tough and they play, and I think of like a Lucic in this regard. But I have yet to see anybody in the game, and the most obvious example I can use right now is Brad Marchand. But I'd go as far back as Matt Cook. I can't remember an incident where Matt Cook almost took a run at somebody and then went, I'm not going to do that because that guy on the bench could come out and get me. If you're on the ice and you pick a fight with Sidney Crosby, you're in luck. Ryan Reeves is on the bench. He doesn't play on the same line as Crosby. You pick a fight with Malkin, you're in luck. He's not on that line either. And that's where the deterrent thing falls for me. And that's why I understand this suspension. It's an easy suspension. And I think it exposes a flaw in the whole policeman part of the game. It worked in the 80s to some extent because everybody had 2 or 3 tough guys on their team. So a game could just dissolve into a bunch of fights in the third, and it was really entertaining. You don't have that now. You need to roll 4 lines. You need to have 6 defensemen who can play hockey. You can't have that guy who plays 4 or 5 minutes in a game, that guy who can't play more than 7 or 8 minutes in a game because he can't be effective. So while I said that sucker punch, if Patrice Bergeron lost his cool and he punches a guy like that, it's 2-3 games. Because it's Zach Rinaldo at 6. I personally would enjoy the game. I can't say to enjoy it more without a Zach Rinaldo in the game, but I'm bewildered to figure out what exactly his role is at this stage of the game. Because this Arizona Coyotes team is one of the worst teams that we've seen since last year's Colorado, for instance, and last year's Colorado was pretty bad too. And they're a young team, and I get that he might be protecting players, but he's not playing top 6. They got a soft top 6. I can't really understand why he's still in the league. And when I said that in a video a few months ago, there were a lot of people who like Zach Rinaldo who made comments, and I get it. I get it. There are people who like his game and what he brings to it. I just don't understand it. So my question to you guys is this. Has the game evolved beyond even having these guys in the lineup who are capable of this? And I'm not talking about Tom Wilson. I am not talking about Lucic. I am talking about your fourth line grinder who does very little on the ice. And when there's some kind of an incident, somehow he's in the middle of it. Somehow he's in the middle of it. And I really think these guys cause a lot of situations where your team ends up shorthanded and could potentially cost you games. I'm kind of surprised they still have jobs in the NHL. But I'm not a GM. I get that. And, I'm curious to know what you guys think. It's a good suspension, and I really think this crap shouldn't be in the game, but I'm kind of surprised that guys that do this are still able to get a job. That there's a GM out there that says, that's what I want. Let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade. That phrase is so dumb. It's still the holidays. I'm just saying, as a fan of hockey, I'm not sure this really helps the game, and it doesn't, to me anyways, doesn't help sell it in new markets or to casual fans. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.